Hey guys, welcome to the Jonas Workshop. My name is Joshua, and if you've ever felt like your tools are in a constant, never-ending episode of storage wars, and you've been contemplating delving into the deep, vast world of French cleats, you're in luck. We're gonna be exploring a whole new world of organization and accessibility that's so undercover that even James Bond would be impressed. Let's go. It's something that I've actually loved. I did it inside of a cabinet. I know most of the times they'll have a fixed wall at which they're going to be putting their stuff up on. But the honest truth is, when I look around my shop here, I don't really have an open wall. Well, that's not true. I have the turkeys up on that wall, but I don't want to take the space for that. So that leaves you with, then what do you do if you still want to do French cleats? Most of the time people haven't considered that you can actually include and do a French cleat system in a modular perspective, right? Having multiple different pods available in your shop, in my opinion, is actually better than a singular wall. Why? Because if I had them on that wall, every time I need something, I do have to walk over to that. Now, I also fully understand that by having doors on it, it actually provides a barrier for efficiency and access, if you will. But at the same token, these same doors provide a benefit that, to me, vastly outweighs the inefficiency that might be it, especially for me being a weekend warrior. And here's what I mean by that. Woodworkers, what is the biggest thing we constantly are hearing about? And that is protecting our nose from taking in all these little aerosolized sawdust pieces to protect our lungs, to protect, right? There's a multitude of different things that can go wrong when you're working with sawdust, especially over a longer period of time. For me, this provides a barrier. Just like when I put a mask on to protect my lungs, I am also having this, which helps protect the tools that are in it, because each of your tools actually has an air intake, if you didn't know. And when you're having dust that settles in there and then you go to use them, that air, that dust particles are getting in there, clogging and basically beating down your system. So to me, this is a huge benefit. Now, the other nice thing that I enjoy about having a kind of a pod style of French cleats is that, one, I can have these at multiple spots throughout. So you'll notice I've got this one right here, which is going to actually house my circular saw, my jig saw, right, my brad nailers, and a variety of things that are specific to this unique area that I'm in, and really to accommodate the workflow that I do in this area. But also, if I come over here, you're going to notice that on this side, I've actually got my clamp, because over here these clamps are more isolated to this table that I've built recently, and that's actually more of my assembly style table that I'll be using. So I'm actually coming up with the design where it's a multitude of different pods located. All right, to sum this up today, we are going to be going over how to make French cleats, and I've got two different approaches for you. One, I'm very aware that 65 to 75% of you viewers watching are visual learners. What we're going to end up doing is I'm going to show you a very visual way of making French cleats that have not as much calculations on it. But for those of you that aren't afraid of a little bit of math, I'm going to give you a basic formula as well that we can do. But first, let's rip these boards down to 5. And that's another kind of a point is, oftentimes people are wondering, well, what should I make the overall thickness of my board? And the honest truth is, just like anything in woodworking, you can vary it to whatever it is that you want. And if it's off, that's okay. I personally have used 5, and then we're going to cut that down now. All right, so you guys, on this first approach, I want to kind of go through the mathematics, if you will. First of all, if you actually take a board that's 5 inches in width, right? You're going to have this, originally 5 is going to be right here. You're going to have your 5, which is the distance from side to side, right? You're going to divide that by 2 to get your 2.5 inches, right? That's going to designate the center of the piece of the wood. Now, you can't just cut right there, because then it's going to be offset. We have to also accommodate for the thickness of the board. So now, in a sense, what we're going to do is we're going to take half of 3/4 of an inch. The board is 3/4 of an inch thick, all right, or 0.75. We're going to take half of that, and we're going to subtract that from the 2.5, which means that the 2.5 minus 3/8, or 0.375, is going to give us 2 1/8. Now, if you want to go crazy, then of course you can even accommodate the kerf of the blade, which to a large extent, most of them are around 1/8 of an inch. So if we assumed a 1/16 of an inch, that'd be fine. But the honest truth is, you guys, everyone strives to have them be identical, and they just do not have to be identical. It's great if you can get it that way, but if they're a little bit off, don't throw them away. They're still very usable and still very achievable. So now let's go ahead and set ours to this number right here, and I'm gonna do it without accommodating to the kerf, and I wanna show you what it turns out like. So let's go ahead and do that now. Actually, before we make that cut, let's do one other little sampling. So here's what I wanna do. I wanna take half of the distance, and I'm gonna mark a few things. I want you guys to see this. This is another way of doing it without having to do so much math. So the first thing that we're gonna actually do is we're gonna find 2.5 inches, right? We could do that with a regular tape, or I could do it with my little Delve square, but I'm gonna use a tape measure. So basically, in a sense, what I'm doing, I'm putting it on there, gonna mark it at 2.5, right there. Now, the other thing that I need to do is I need to find the center, if you will, of this right here. Now, one thing is to know on a lot of the speed squares that you guys may or may not have is you notice when you look at this right here, notice the difference on the left to the right side when it comes to the set off, right? Notice that on this particular side, the distance from the spine out is different from this distance on this way. And that is because there are two very specific different measurements. So this is designed so that if I take this and I put it on this board just like that, and I trace that line, that is the halfway mark to a degree, right? Because keep in mind that the thickness of the board unfortunately varies on a 3/4 inch. So that's gonna be my center mark there. And then if I take my 2.5 inch, and I mark it there, that is the exact center, if you will, of that board. Now, interestingly, what you can do is you can take now this, and I'm gonna line it up so that my 45-degree angle basically intersects with that centermost point. And then all I have to do is I can draw that line. That right there is representative of the 45-degree angle, which is going to be cut on your wood. And I've actually done it over here as well. I've drawn it out. What I've also done is, as the board is being fed through, I've marked these, which you'll be able to see, which is at 2.5 inch and 2 1/8, which is, again, this is where we're going to be setting our 45-degree on ours. So let's go ahead and get that started. Zero this out, pop it on here. So now let's take that board and let's examine what just kind of happened. You can see where I've got the center drawn out, and if you look at this line, that's going to be the center, and that's exactly where it intersected it at a perfect 45. So if you put those boards kind of back to back, all right, you can cut, and that's perfect. Oh. Well, so when you guys go to install these, the only thing that I did that I think would be good for you, especially if you know that you're going to be doing it more than just this first time, is I actually took these, this is from some black walnut that I had, but this is 3.5 by 3.5 inch all directions. And I built two out of that. And basically what you do is you'll set them down on the flat surface, and then you put your first cleat right on top of that, which kind of helps level that. You can obviously check that with a torpedo level or something of that nature, and then just screwed those right in. And then you go, when those are in, then guess what? You take these same cleat or these same squares and you put them just on top, right above that. And those go in here as well. and then you start your next row, and you just keep working your way up. Super simple and as easy as that. And again, I use these just because I know I'm going to be doing it in a multitude more places, so I have these on. All right, right off the bat here, guys, we're going to go ahead and start building one for my Milwaukee brad nailer. And you can see we're going to need a base that's 11 by 13 inches. And I'm actually going to be using a 1/2 inch piece of plywood here just to kind of save on material as opposed to using a 3/4 inch plywood. Now that I've got the base or the foundation, I have to add a little rectangular cleat, if you will, to go in the center. That will support the main weight of the brad nailer. So I'm going to figure out my location, and then I'm going to just double check it here. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to actually add some wood glue followed by some CA glue on the ends with a little bit of catalyst just so we can keep it going through this process. I'm going to add some brads to the back of that just to get it nice and secure. Now the one thing that I didn't do on film is I added a little bit of a notch, so if that got bumped it wouldn't tip off of that, followed by then adding the cleat to the very back of it. I actually marked off with that delve square 1/2 inch so I can get my cleat perfectly level, if you will, to the board. And then I'm going to go ahead and squeeze it. I like to get it as tight as I can so when those brads are in, it is nice, secure, and fashion. And we are ready to go. Just like that. So we'll take that. I'm going to end up putting that right there. Just like so. And then as you look at some of the other ones, I wanted to show you this one as well because I think this one's kind of really neat. Rather than making it so that it's flat against the wall, right, it's taking up a significant amount of wall space, I actually built it so it extends out. So it takes lesser of a footprint, if you will. And the one thing about this one is I just built a base, traced out the bottom of it, which you can see, to allow this to go in, built a rim or a boundary on the outside, and then just put this piece in Y, because that is the piece that goes in under, and then this drops down. So then that way, as it's up there against it, right, this, as it wants to tip back, it's stopped by that. So it stays up there nice, if you will, and secure, so you can get it out pretty easily. And I've never once, and this is not the lockable kind, meaning it doesn't have that little piece that you could put up on top of it to prevent it from falling out, but I've never once had it fall out on me. So that's because I think you lift out and then it pulls down, meaning I don't have to push up on it at all to worry. So I thought this one was really neat, and this one is so easy to do. The hardest thing that I'll say is probably getting this angle just right. With this on, it creates a little bit of a bump out, right? So I had to make sure that my doors weren't hitting it. In the first version that I did, it actually hit on that. So I had to take these out and cut this angle down just a little bit more. And that's why it's so important to do kind of a test fit, if you will. But now, it fits great up here. Just like that. And so I'll show you one other one that I thought was kind of a fun little build for me, and that was going to be my jigsaw carrier, which is still in here. I'm going to take that out, and you can see it's just like that. Built 2 side walls. Man, I can't even tell you how easy this stuff is to do. And then you just built these in there so that as it's in, right, it can't tip back or anything of that nature. Now, the high probability is not going to, but I just thought just in case it maybe went to tilt to the side, these 2 things will actually prevent that. And so just like that, you can have yourself a nice little French cleat setup. And again, recognize the brilliance of the system. I can rearrange that in any form or capacity that I want. If I get new tools, I can either repurpose the one that I have, or every single one of these that you see up here, I actually made with my scrap wood. And I know everyone always says throw it, throw it, throw it, but until you've done a lot of these smaller projects like this, keep your scrap wood for now because you'll utilize a lot of it. I didn't have to spend anything on this French cleat wall that I didn't already have. Love it. So let me get it kind of set up and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out my videos. And hey, I have got 2 more videos that you will absolutely love. Why? Because this guy told me so. Braun, the man, the myth, the legend. If you haven't seen my tip-down drawer system that houses all of my scribing and marking tools, then definitely check out this video up here. And in addition to that, if you haven't seen one on the charging station that I did inside of the cabinet, just like we did with the French Cleat system, then definitely check this one out. This is also another keeper as well. This one has a lot of fun features that you can actually see, and it's got also this tip down tray that houses all your drill bits and everything that you might need as well. So check those out. All right guys, hey, I really wanted to say thank you for those of you that have been just following my General's Workshop, and you guys have been showing your support. I want you to know that I truly read through every single comment that I get down there, and I appreciate you guys reaching out, and appreciate those that have subscribed. I'm actually enjoying the process, and I hope that you are too. We've got a lot of things coming up in the future, and super excited because for me, shoot dang, this has actually been a super fun process. I've been enjoying it. I love it. I love it. I love it. See you guys later.